This is my 1983 GMC, and it rather annoyingly has these car-style mirrors that are sometimes known as sport mirrors, but these were the base mirrors for the truck. If you did not specify mirrors when ordering, this is what you got. And I've put a camper shell back on this pickup now, and I find these mirrors to be rather ineffective. I don't know how my friend that I bought this truck from drove it all those years with these little mirrors, but the mirror on the passenger side, I accidentally broke it off trying to readjust it. It was a generic replacement mirror, and I could not get it adjusted right, and it was not working the way I wanted it to. So I decided to replace these with the below Eyeline mirrors, is what GM called them. Some people call them Dumbo mirrors or trailer pulling mirrors, and was looking for information on how to mount them, and that's why I'm making this video. And over here on the passenger side of the truck, I've already gotten one of the mirrors mounted, and I believe this is the factory position for mounting the mirror, and I'm going to show you how to determine that factory position, and also let you know about a brace that you need that goes inside the door that attaches to the bottom mounting bolt. I'm doing this install with a repop mirror, and you could just as easily do this with a factory mirror, but I'm doing it with the assistance of some factory parts. This is really the only factory part you really need. It's a brace which goes inside the door, and one end connects to the inner door skin and the other end connects to the outer door skin and is the mounting point where this bottom screw goes. This is the bottom and this bracket will be inside the door on the back side of where this hole goes. Now these brackets are left and right-handed, and I can't show you the right hand or passenger side bracket because I've already installed it, but I'll link to a thread on the 6772 ChevyTrucks.com forum where somebody has a picture of these, and basically the difference between the left and the right is on the driver's side or left, this part and this part are like, okay, let me rephrase that. That was kind of a silly way of describing it. This is the left-hand bracket. This part is the same. This end is the same on both brackets. This end is different. On the passenger side or right hand, this is longer, and on the driver's side, this is shorter because these brackets that go on the outside the door are identical. So on the passenger side, you end up with this hole being towards the back of the door, and on the driver's side you end up with this hole being towards the front of the door. And this bracket inside the door reaches around the channel that the window slides down, and so this foot has to be longer to reach further to the back of the door on the passenger side, and on the driver's side it is shorter. The other thing to note is at least on my truck, and I believe this to be the same on all of these, and if someone wants to correct me if I am wrong, feel free to point it out. But I'm going to show you this when I get the door taken apart. But regardless of whether you install this bracket on the driver's side, which will make this hole towards the front, or the passenger side, which will make this hole towards the front, there is a way of determining where the front hole needs to be. And I'll point that out, and then you mount this bracket on the door with the front bolt hole, and then you figure out where the other two holes need to go from there. And it's actually fairly simple. Okay, so with the door panel removed, look inside the door, and this is how you locate the front mounting bolt for the below Eyeline mirrors. If you look inside the door, you see this backing plate, and you can see the screw that the stock mirror, that's the front mounting screw for the stock mirror, this screw right here. And if you look right here, and on the passenger side door, this the hole in the outer door skin was not drilled, but the hole in the backing plate that I'm shining my light at was there. This is the driver's side door, and it appears that the hole is already there in the outer door skin. That is your top front mounting hole for the below eyeline mirror. So that is how you figure out where the mirror goes, and then everything else lines up from there. This screw hole right here below this cutout where you access the back side of that hole from. This hole right here, that is where the inside, the inner end of that brace bolts to, that goes between the inner and outer door skin. And then the outer end attaches to the bottom mounting hole for the mirror. So this is what you need to know to mount the below eyeline mirror on your door. Okay, and then the standard mirror bracket is held on with some sheet metal screws which go into that backing plate. You see the holes in the outer door skin are slightly larger, and that backing plate is made out of metal that's thicker than the actual door skin. But you can see on my particular truck, the hole for the below eyeline mirror was already drilled. But as I said, if your door isn't drilled on the outer door skin, open the door and go inside and look up there, and you will see the hole in that backing plate. And then on the other side of the truck, when I installed the mirror on that side, I drilled the hole from this side using the hole in the backing plate to start it. And so on this side of the truck, I can go ahead and hang the bracket with this hole that's already here and get it adjusted to where the top of it is level with the bottom of the windowsill, and then drill the other two mounting holes. And don't be tempted to try to use one of these holes for that front hole, because it will put this bracket up too high. And then if you take and put the bracket with the gasket on in place, and here's the gasket. So this is a repop. I think the originals are like this too. The gasket has these little plastic pins that stick up through. But if you try to install this with the hole up on the top screw, the top of the gasket will overhang the lip on the door. But if you put it down here, it puts the gasket right on the top of the gasket, where it's still right on the flat spot of the door. And it seems to center this up about where it's supposed to be, because the stem that the mirror arm comes out seems to be in line with the division bar between the vent window and the main window. So I'll put this together with that hole with a screw and a nut through that hole there, and then I'll get it lined up, and then I'll drill the other two holes. And like I said, I've got extra hardware that I got from a salvage yard. I'm using these original nuts and screws for the top two mounts, and then this is the bracket for the bottom. Use a longer screw with a pointed tip for the bottom mirror mounting hole. Okay, and with the two top bolts in, all I gotta do is drill a hole for the bottom one. And I like to do it in 2 steps. I'll drill all the holes and make sure it fits, then I'll take it off and then put RTV on the 2 unused holes. As you can see, it totally covers up the you can still see a ghost mark from the paint from when this truck was repainted from the old bracket, but the old holes are covered entirely. And the 2 critical most bolts, which would be this one and this one, are both going into more than just the door skin, because this one's going through both the door skin and that reinforcing plate, and then this one will go screw into the foot of that brace, and then this one just goes into the door skin. But I've got that washer nut on there, and you could, if you wanted to, use a nut with use a larger washer behind it. But at this point now, I'll go ahead and drill the other hole. I use a drill bit that's about the same size as the holes in the bracket. For the slotted hole, I use a drill bit about the same size as this hole, and for this one, I use a slightly larger bit that about the same size as that. And then there's a trick when installing the brace. You just install the inside screw and leave it a little loose, and then let the outer end flop around, and then that longer screw with the point, use that to get it started. But it will all go together, and it'll go together real nice. Okay, and as you can see, this is the bracket. You can see the angle of the inner door skin here, and this foot, the way it's angled. So this is going to go in there, and I'm going to put that in there like that. Then I'll put the screw in and just kind of leave it loose a bit. And then there's my hole. You probably can't see very well. There we are. There's my bottom hole, and that's going to go there, and that'll all made up just like that. Okay, here's the bracket rough mounted to the door now. All I gotta do is take it off and apply RTV to all the holes. There is the bracket, or the brace I should say, and how it reaches around and attaches to the back side of the inner door skin, and that's what's holding the bottom mount of the mirror. Here's how it looks through that access hole here in the door. Anyway, everything else you can figure out for yourselves, so I'm going to end the video here. But that is how you install the below eyeline mirrors. And I think the RPO is R45 or L45. It's something with a 45 at the end. That's the RPO for the below eyeline mirrors that would have been available on these. And to my knowledge, there's a lot of places where you can get the mirror head itself, you know, the arm that comes out in this. This is obviously a repop. Originals are probably a little nicer if you can find them in good shape, for the fact that the steel is better quality and it's probably a little thicker. And then two, these are very coarse threaded screws. I suspect they will probably strip out. The originals have fine threads, and obviously the steel is probably better quality. But you can get these from a variety of sources, but the only outfit I know of selling reproductions of the brace that goes inside is LMC Truck out of Kansas City. So if you can't find originals, they've got them. Like I said, the left and right side is different because obviously this whole bolt is off-centered. Anyway, Oklahoma Bridges, thanks for watching.